One of the world's legendary motor racing circuits, Australia's Mount Panorama is a throwback to an era when most motorsports events were staged on public roads. Located outside Bathurst, New South Wales, the 4-mile Mount Panorama circuit serves as public roadway when not being utilized for racing. Indeed, many adjacent businesses and residential properties can only be accessed using roads comprising the circuit. The circuit embodies many of the characteristics of history's great open road courses, including steep grades and substantial elevation changes. There's a 570-foot vertical difference between its highest and lowest points, following sequences of challenging, distinctively named bends like Hell Corner, The Dipper, Forest's Elbow, with dramatic vistas for spectators. Mount Panorama was originally carved out of the hills around Bathurst in the 1930s. Through a national employment relief effort during the Depression, local and federal government deployed what had been a dirt track tourist drive into a racetrack. Mount Panorama's first ever event was staged in April of 1938, and apart from the years during World War II, the circuit has been in regular use ever since. Historically, the racetrack has been used for a wide variety of categories, including everything from open-wheel racers to motorcycles. In recent years, Mount Panorama has been best known as home of the Bathurst 12-hour sports car race in February and October's Bathurst 1000, a signature event in the V8 Supercar Series. Tonight, it's more Lonestar Racing GT3 Series. It's round number 10. It's next on HBR TV. Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Mount Panorama Circuit, Bathurst, as some would call it. The Lonestar Racing GT3 Series, round number 10. Of course, a 1-hour sprint tonight. Take a look at the race details. 64-degree ambient temperature, rather dry, 15% humidity. Track temperature down to 67%. Qualifying already underway. A 15-minute session. We're about 3 minutes in. So let's go down trackside to see where everybody's shaking out. David Tamira on track. Thus far, no one completing a full lap here at Bathurst in qualifying. Again, just over 3 minutes in. Taking a look at results from the practice session earlier on. It was a 50-minute session. Terry Crouch did top the charts. 2 minutes, 2 seconds, .227. Gaston Masroni was second fast, a .245, 24 hundredths of a second off pace. It's pretty tight. Andrew Locke, then Randall White, Kevin Burrows. A lot of TLDR SimSport drivers within that top 5. Kevin Blue, though, I guess you could call this his home track. He's, well, out of South Carolina, but definitely likes Bathurst. 6th quick in practice. Terry Crouch gets a lap in, a 2:02.961. We're going back to the preseason. I believe it was Terry Crouch. It was in a good position to win this race. Or maybe it was the other way around. I can't even remember. There's so many races we cover. I know it did come down between himself and Gaston Masroni. I think the pit cycle kind of changed things. Somebody took tires, somebody didn't. Got Haley in the stream chat. Thanks for joining us once and always. Haley out of Sweden. Gaston Masroni now takes over the top spot at 2:02.54. Tops Terry Crouch by about 4 tenths. 4-mile distance here at Bathurst. Each lap takes some time, but even at 2 minutes, 2 seconds, seems like a long lap. They are certainly covering a lot of ground rather quickly in that amount of time. Again, Masroni still top of the board. He's in pit lane here. Terry Crouch still on track. We'll see if he can knock Masroni off the top spot. Terry Crouch coming down into turn 23 to complete his lap. We'll see where he can lock himself in here. Certainly going to have a good qualifying run. Let's just see if he can knock Masroni off the top spot. As it stands right now, it doesn't look like he's going to do it. Purple through that final sector. 2:02.73 this time by, still a couple of tenths shy. Kevin Blue in the stream chat says he's giving up, starting in the pits. Pressure potentially getting to Kevin Blue. Again, he was fast in practice, 6 quick. Watch Andrew Locke. Masroni back on the racetrack here, trying to top his existing time. Nothing doing just yet. Terry Crouch, he's up so far. Well, kind of even, I guess, if you average things out here. Purple, purple, and then yellow and yellow. The 4 drivers at the bottom just happen to be selected here against the top time. Crouch purple once again. One more left-hander to get through here in just a moment. Terry will lock in another lap. We'll see if he can take that top spot as the time continues to tick down here. Still not quite fast enough. Terry Crouch, 54 hundredths of a second shy. Still improved his time, but not quite enough to knock Gaston off that top spot. Relatively clear sailing out in front of the 59 here. The next driver to worry about, on track at least, out the front windshield of Terry Crouch is 27 Randall White. It's a teammate, so it shouldn't come into play. Quite a distance between the two. Crouch out at 22, gonna short jaunt down in the left-hand 23 once again. Couple of purple sectors there again. We'll see if he's got enough to knock Gaston off. It's been tight every time by. See where he is now. Doesn't do it. 2:02.67 for Terry Crouch. Still sits second. He's going to try and get another lap in here in the pits. Out he goes. Hammer down. Kevin Blue in the stream chat says, I like the new overlays. Switched things up just a bit. We were running a WEC style, World Endurance Challenge style overlay previously. We're having some issues with it. It's quite buggy. Switched it up this week, tried something different. So far, so good. Qualifying continues. The season continues to wind down. I'm going to try and get a look here at the point standings here in just a moment. As they run coming into tonight, Terry Crouch, your points leader, 10:22 his tally. Gaston Mastroeni about 90 points back. Still plenty of time to make it up. Kevin Burrows third, James Vance fourth, though I don't see Vance out here tonight. Randall White fifth. Nick Kikato, Dave Tamura, Sean Roberts, Dave Seitz, and Daniel Clark the top 10. Terry takes the green flag on his lap here with about 20 seconds left in the session, so he will be allowed to complete this lap. I'd like to mention, though, as you see headlights on Terry Crouch's machine, it's starting to get a little bit darker here at the racing facility. Take a look at the weather. Again, 64 degrees, 15% humidity, track temp about 66 degrees, nice and cool. Terry certainly got plenty of tire temp into those sneakers on that BMW. Final crack at the top spot as he's up through the mountain. Turns 8, 9, 10. Quick flicks of the steering wheel, 11, 12, 13, 14. All the way to the final corner before the straight turn, 19. A hard left-hand turn, 18, coming up in a moment. Terry Crouch across the stripe, 2:02.60. Best lap of the day, still not quite enough. Only about 1/1000th of a second improvement. Qualifying session officially wrapping up here at Mount Panorama Circuit. The sun continues to set on the horizon. It's likely going to go into darkness tonight. It's going to be very difficult for these drivers who don't have a lot of experience with the headlights on. Again, taking a look at the race info for tonight, 64 degrees now, the temperature, 15% humidity, still kind of holding strong there. Track temperature is up just a degree at 67. I'd imagine that'll either hang tight or drop slightly as the sun does continue to set here in Bathurst. 60 minutes the race distance. We'll expect to see at least 2 pit stops, roughly 9 to 11 laps per stint. With that, though, we're about ready to get this race underway. Let's take a look at our starting grid. On the pole position with a lap time of 2:02.546 miles per hour, it's the 3 of Gaston Masroni. Outside front row, the number 59 TLDR SimSport driver, the BMW of Terry Crouch. Row number 2, starting third, the number 23 out of New York State, it's Andrew Locke. TLD SimSport has another driver in the 4th position. It's the 426 of Kevin Burrows. Starting 5th, TLDR SimSport number 27 of Randall White with Alfredo Tricarici, the 57 Coanda Racing driver, starts 6th. 7th starter, Dave Seats in the Mercedes. Sean Roberts, the number 66 Shenandoah Shine Porsche, will start 8th. David Tamira, the 014, will start 9th. Daniel Clark will start from the 10th spot. 11th starter goes to Nick Batista in the 67. Chris Pio in the 9. He'll start 12th. Kevin Blue, credited 13th. The Lonestar Racing driver will start from that position, likely from the back or maybe even pit lane. Brandon Domain, the 13, will start 14th. And the number 1, Drew Blaze, also with Lonestar Racing, he'll start from the 15th starting position. Your starting grid here for Lonestar Racing GT3 Series Round 10 in Mount Panorama Circuit. Green flag coming soon. Field has not left their grid positions just yet. A couple of drivers, Sean Roberts, Brandon Domain, a little bit late to the grid. Maybe one final pit stop before they hop behind the wheel. Drew Blaze in the stream chat. I'm just here to watch Drew Blaze wreck. Well, how about that? Good news is you're here, Drew. Got Nick Ciccato in the stream chat. What's going on, Nick? You'll see Gaston Masroni dropping to the back. EOL win penalty for last week. Going to be a challenge to win from the rear, but small field here tonight, only 15 drivers. Looks like Brandon Domain has not taken the grid, so it's not clear if he'll be even in the race, so maybe only 14 to be concerned with. Short parade lap as they're down through turn 23 here. Waiting on the green flag.
Green flag.
Terry Crouch with the jump over Andrew Locke, Kevin Burrows, Randall White, and Alfredo Tricarici. Good jump for Terry Crouch. First time up the mountain, Terry Crouch still with the lead. The best position to be in this circumstance. Don't have to worry about someone crossing things up in front of you. So far, so good. Terry Crouch just scrapes the barrier. Field working the backstretch for the first time. Lap 1 complete. Terry Crouch with the race lead. Seems that just about everyone has survived for the most part. Looks like Daniel Clark may have had an issue at one point. Let's get a look at it, see what happened. Starting to come down off the mountain, and he collects Gaston Masroni in that incident as well. Certainly one of the faster drivers here today. Where did Gaston end up? He's in pit lane, it looks like. Daniel Clark in the pits, Masroni as well. So big story here, first lap of the race. Last week's winner taking the win penalty tonight. Big time penalty for the 3. It's going to send him to pit lane on lap 1 with damage. They do have a faster pair, but he's got a lot of work to do. Quick repair and down and away. Looks like Alfredo may have had an issue on track as well. Let's try and catch up what happened there. Oh, just over rotates. This is coming up the mountain. Lucky enough not to collect anybody else. Clark just exits the pit lane. He uses his faster pair as well. Back in the running. Got Nick Ciccato in the stream chat saying something happened to the Ford GT in front of Daniel. Software is not catching it. Let's see if we can find it. The Ford GT is Chris Pio. This is the replay once again. Just got on the brakes much harder than everybody else. That might have been what triggered the incident. Sklar got on the brakes real hard, have a lot of rear brake dialed into that BMW. It sends the rear end around. Back out front, Terry Crouch with the race lead. About 9/10 of a second over the New Yorker, Andrew Locke. Ooh, a little wide. Andrew Locke in the grass, in the fence. Trouble for the second place driver. Oh, he slides across traffic. Do they get by? They do. Andrew trying to get clear. He's just going to go right to pit lane here. Pressure removed from race leader Terry Crouch as you saw Andrew Locke having trouble on top of the mountain. Let's go back and take a look what happened. The 23 of Andrew Locke. We were riding on board as it happened. He goes a little wide, gets it into the grass, and then it just sends him across the racetrack. Not a great angle here. Let's try it from the chopper. This should tell the story. Just goes, hits that curb, and it sends him in the grass, overcorrects it. Of course, not a whole lot of room to save the car. He tries to ride the wall. Gets it back in the grass. And then she comes around again and almost gets collected by these other two drivers coming through. Man, threading the needle. Chris Goins in the stream chat. Chaos on the mountain. And speaking of which, Chris Goins usually runs this series. Where are you, Chris? Dave Seats running in the 4th position, already up 3 spots. Some decent progress here early on, 4 laps in. And expect pit stops between laps 9 and 11. I think 9 would be a little bit early. 11 might be too late unless these guys are really trying to stretch it. Tamira and Sean Roberts doing battle. Tamira in the 5th position. Let's ride on board the Porsche. Gotta say, that Porsche sounds awesome. We say it every week, but it just never gets old. And Nick Batista in the pit lane as well. Looks like there was an off track for Nick, not a crash per se. Let's see what happened. Nick in the Ferrari. And this is right around where Andrew Locke had his problems. Carbon copy here, gets wide. This is almost the same incident that just happened to Andrew Locke a lap or 2 ago. Lucky for Nick, not a whole lot of traffic in behind him at the time of the incident. He's able to continue on, but chances of a solid run here this afternoon quickly going out the window. Terry Crouch was 6.3 seconds over Kevin Burrows, teammate, in that 2nd spot. Randall White, also a teammate, running in the 3rd spot. Dave Seats, Dave Tamira, 4th and 5th. 5 laps in here from Bathurst. Looks like we got Andrew Locke available. We'll bring him up into the broadcast booth. Andrew and Steve in the booth, you got us?
Hey, what's up, buddy?
Not much, man. Rough ending, early ending for your night here at Bathurst. What happened?
I just got a little loose at the top of the hill, man, and put it in the wall. It's too bad, too. I was really trying to keep up with Terry, but that's okay. I tried.
Saw almost the exact same thing happen with Nick Batista about a lap after yours. Got a little wide, hit that curb, upset balance of the car, put him in the grass, and sent him across the racetrack into the barrier. Luckily, no traffic involved there. You got lucky not to get collected by the other two, but either way, out of this one way or another.
Yeah, I was definitely standing on the brake, that's for sure, because I knew I was going to roll back down that hill, and yeah, I was really lucky there. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of a shame. I really, this week, I actually put a lot of practice in here and doing some really consistent laps. And believe it or not, the man himself who's leading the race was giving me a hand on some tips with the GT3 car, because as you know, I don't really drive it that often except for in this league. So his tips were working, and of course, naturally, all week I keep it consistent. But as soon as I'm trying to get up on his tail there, I bend it. But it is what it is. All good.
Terry's certainly a good source for tips and tricks and just about anything. You think he's quick in GT3, you should see him in a Radical. It's even crazier. It's just, I don't know where he finds the speed.
That's what he was saying, and he's like, it was funny because he literally said that exact same thing. He said, GT3s aren't even my specialty. He goes, the Radicals are where it's at, and I think he loves the older Radical too, which is pretty cool.
Correct.
So, yeah, he's a cool guy, man, and it was very nice of him to take the time to look at my VRS telemetry and everything like that, and kind of show me what to do. And yeah, he really helped out substantially. I gotta say, because in previous weeks there was no way that I was even close to his pace, and I it's a shame I wrecked there, because I'm pretty sure I'd still be kind of close to him. At least I hope. But that's
At
okay.
least in position for a podium, without a doubt. You just run a
Yeah.
clean race at that point. I think you were in good shape. You had some pretty good pace. Again, getting pointers from Terry's always a good way to go. He's certainly open to doing that. Just anybody, whether you're a guy like yourself that usually has pretty good pace on these road courses, or a guy that's kind of just getting into it, he'll work with anybody.
Well, yeah, and and it's like so open-minded about all of it. And to your point, yes, I got a lot of road experience, but most of it's in the prototype. But it's he was able to identify a pretty substantial issue that I'd been having, even the whole time that I've even racing prototypes. So um, an issue with overlapping brake and accelerator and going into the corners and stuff. And the fact that this guy can like explain the science behind it too so like vividly, but at the same time still make you understand it. It's awesome. He's very good at it, and just a super good guy. So it was nice of him again to do that. It was awesome. So
I forget who it was I was talking to. It was probably within the last week to 10 days, and they were referring to Terry Crouch as iRacing's Rain Man.
he's definitely Rain Man. He's and it's like it got to a point where he had to apologize because he was like going on such a rant, and it's like, Terry, no, dude, you're good, because everything that he was saying was completely making sense.
Right.
But it's what's so cool about it is that he gets so excited about it. You know what I mean? And like the the openness and willingness to and the desire to want to teach people how to get faster. And like even guys that have been doing it for a while, or I mean, you said he works with some rookie guys too, so I mean it's really spectacular that he does that, dude. And he's just a great guy. Just can't say enough about him. And obviously he's got pretty solid control of this race, so hopefully he doesn't pull a me and put it in the wall, but I doubt he will.
8 laps in, pit stops coming up here. Probably the next couple, I would say lap 10, you may see guys start peeling off to get service, probably tires and fuel, so they can kind of just fuel up on that final stint. What was your strategy, since the race is over for you at this point? What was your plan for tires on that first or second stop?
Well, it was funny because I was looking at it through the week, and when Kevin had originally set up the session, Terry and I were talking, and I told him what my lap time was, and I think I was in like the low 205s, 204s, and then he's like, well, and that's when he kind of got on the telemetry thing, and it turns out that the session was originally set like in the middle of the day, and the track temperature I think was close to, I want to say 115 degrees. So after one stint, I was thinking, okay, yeah, I'd take tires in those settings. But after looking at it, practicing on these conditions, I really think that you can go the whole race with one set of tires. It probably would get a little tricky at the end, but I think the car would be okay, and that's what my strategy was going to be. But dependent on who was behind me, and yeah, so it was probably not even take tires, to be honest with you.
So you look at the gap that Terry has gotten himself in, about 8.5 seconds now over Kevin Burrows. If you have the gap to P2, obviously Terry's got pace regardless, but do you just take tires that first stop anyway? Just say, you know what, I got time, I might as well bolt them on?
I mean, honestly, if I were him, I probably would, and that's only because, I mean, the one good thing that he's got to look forward to is the track's not going to get any hotter. So But the downside to that is these cars are obviously pretty light on fuel to begin with, just so you can get those 3 pit stops in. So if he goes the entire stint without changing tires, he's kind of jeopardizing a little bit of safety there in a stint because you can easily lose it, especially on top of that hill. I mean, that I don't know if you've ever tried this track, Steve, but it is tricky up there, especially when the car gets light on fuel and the tires get worn. So
I did run a bit of a practice session with Kevin. I think it might have been last weekend. I'm not even sure. It was about a week ago. I only ran a handful of laps in it, but man, I don't know if it's just me being out of practice or the changes they've made to this GT3 car as of late, but man, they are a handful.
yeah, they really are. And I mean, what I was reading from the update is it made them kind of feel heavier, which I didn't really drive them much before. So I mean, I guess I can't tell the difference. I know that when you do road stuff, you're primarily GT3, but it, yeah, they are very tricky. And we were running the 12 hours of Bathurst actually, and James was in the car. And right around this last corner that Terry just went down there, he literally it was again, end of the stint, low fuel, 1 hour stint, so the tires were worn. Did a lazy spin, put it in that inside wall. I think we were like P3, and car was done. So that's kind of the risk you take. But like I said, if I were Terry, I would certainly take tires because it looks like he's at, he's got about a 9-second gap. So he's got the time.
Well, speaking of James, no Vance tonight. Was he out running the real carts this afternoon, or what's going on with James?
Yeah, he's running a TCR car this week. I forgot where he's at. I think he's in Oklahoma someplace actually. Yeah, so they're doing some testing with a TCR car this week. So I believe he left. I'm gonna say he left. I think like Thursday. So he flew out there, and yeah, so they're doing testing with that. So not quite sure when he'll be back, but I know he was pretty bummed to miss this race because he loves Bathurst and he likes fighting with Terry. So he really does too. It's awesome.
So,
and yeah.
Next week we've got Laguna Seca. Obviously, it's a new race, another hour to deal with things. How's Laguna look on your schedule?
I gotta be honest with you, it's one of my least favorite tracks. I don't know how you feel about it, but
It's love-hate.
yeah, I mean, it's cool when you get it right, but it's a very, very, very tricky course in my opinion. Not really much unlike this, I guess, in a way, if you think about it, but it's got some fast sweepers and some goofy chicanes in it and corkscrews and what have you, but I don't know, maybe after running so much this week on this track doing practice, maybe I'll get the hang of it and actually like the track. I mean, it's another good part of this league. Kevin does a really good job, and he picks a lot of interesting tracks that I wouldn't normally run on, and definitely makes me realize how fun a lot of these tracks that I don't run on a lot are. You know what I mean? Kind of opens your mind a bit, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, interesting point that you make, though, about Laguna Seca here in Bathurst. They are, if you look at the racetracks and how they drive, they are somewhat similar. You wouldn't think that necessarily, but as far as going up the mountain, down the mountain, yes,
Yeah,
they're very
yeah.
similar, but the difference is Laguna Seca, at least you've got some runoff to play with. You've got some visibility to work with. As Terry stays out on his 10th lap here, he's going to push it to 11.
Yeah, man, it's obviously saving fuel. Yeah, I mean, they are quite alike, and it's until you actually started to talk about the track, I didn't put the two and two together. But I mean, if you think about this section, that's kind of going out of what is it, the turn one, turn two complex, and you kind of go around the turn three, and then turn four, and then kind of up the hill, and then here's your sweeper. Except that's a left-hander instead of a right-hander. So, and then you kind of start making your way up the hill. So yeah, and then not this section that Terry's in currently, but the section right after this where you're cresting the hill. I mean, the corkscrew is it's just a smaller version of the corkscrew there. So yeah, it's super similar. And I mean, you are right though. There is runoff, but it's like, I swear to God, as soon as you touch that runoff there, you're into the wall anyway. So You know, it's like I'm a big golfer, right? It's the difference between playing like a links course and a tight course. And weirdly enough, I play better at a tight course than I would at a links, you know, a wide open course. So I don't know. We'll see.
Nick Ciccato makes the point. He says that Laguna Seca is much thinner. I don't know if that's necessarily the case, at least coming down the mountain. That seems pretty narrow if that's what he's referring to. I'm not sure exactly his point there, but...
Well, Laguna Seca is, you know, it's not a wide track either, like this one, you know, and I mean, maybe that's what he means by it, but I'm not looking at your YouTube chat, but yeah, I mean, it's I don't know, it's a cool track. It's just like I said, it's that corkscrew there, man, it gets me every time. I don't know.
It's a tough section, of course, to master, and of course, it's ironically one of the tracks that we've all been racing throughout the years of growing up playing video games, whether it's a PlayStation or Xbox with Forza or what have you. But it's certainly different here in the sim. It's tough to master, easy to get wrong. As Terry Crouch hits pit lane for his first stop of the night.
Yeah, let's see if he takes tires. I'd be interested to see that because he's got what, about an 11-second gap, so. That's what my timing screen's saying. Yep, and here comes Kevin. So he's quick too, man. Yeah, he's super quick.
Well, you look at the top three, it's Crouch, Burrows, and White. They're all TLDR Sim Sport drivers.
Yeah, yeah, and the three of them are definitely... Oh, he's taking tires, look at that. Yeah, what about Kevin and
Randall coming in together?
Let's see. They've got to be on the same strategy, yeah. It doesn't look like Randall's taking tires, though.
Randall's going to be the oddball out. He's going to try and gamble a bit and see if it pays off. Terry's down.
Dave's also a quick guy, so it looks like he's doing fuel only. We got Drew Blaze. He's also a dude.
Drew's hit and miss. I mean, it's interesting. Drew Blaze comes in. I guess you could call it, he's a dirt racer by trade, but he doesn't really do a whole lot of dirt racing in iRacing because it does tend to be kind of toxic as far as the drivers that are in it most of the time.
I bet there's a lot of cuckoo and going on there, huh?
But he comes over and runs the asphalt oval side of things and is very successful over there, and he can get it done on a road course too. Again, don't let his running order kind of fool you. He's in a league here with some fast guys, so he's not going to necessarily be up hunting for wins, but he's quick.
Oh no, I've seen it, and that's why I said it, man. And his dirt experience definitely makes him pretty nimble in one of these cars. And I mean, you got to be really, 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 really good to drive one of those things. I'm sorry, and actually be quick on them. But you know, like what? Let's see here. So, who did you say didn't take tires?
Randall White took fuel only. Burrows took 4, just like Terry, so he got back the third spot. So Randall jumped Kevin for P2.
Yeah, and look at that. He's still got a 9-second gap. That's wild, man. Holy cow.
But I mean, he had a 9-second gap on P2 coming into the pits. Same strategy as Kevin Burrows. Randall kind of gambled without tires, so he saved some times in the pits. But realistically, if you look at the stop, Terry's pit stop was a 21:15. Randall with no tire was an 18:38. So we're talking 3 seconds max of extra time to get a set of 4 tires put on the thing. Even if you didn't have the gap, I think you kind of have to do it.
Yeah, and it's funny, like throughout the week, I should have racked his brain about that because we didn't even talk about strategy. But yeah, I mean, you're spot on there because you're looking at less than a 3-second difference between the two. Because like I got Randall at 18.4, and then Terry and Kevin, they were at 21.2 for their stops. Total lane time was looks like Randall was the winner there. He was at 41.4, and then Kevin was at 44, and then Terry was at 43.4. So, I mean, very similar between the three of them for the for you know the two of them for the same stop.
So you might have a different data analyzer than mine. Maybe my pit lane time factors in the pit stop as well, because I'm showing 55.8 for Terry, 54, and then 56 for Randall, and then Kevin respectively. So either way, the differences as to who was faster remain the same. But
yeah, I'm using JRT, so I don't, again, and you know what, mine might be a little goofy because I exited the session and got back in, but my relatives and everything are the same as yours, so yeah, I don't know.
Terry Crouch out to a 9-second advantage. Pit stops complete here. We're going to take an HBR TV side-by-side break. Stay with us. We'll be back after this.
I met Marco Scarza when we were doing radiothons for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. We needed sponsors to help us raise money, and he's always the first one to jump in. I would describe Marcos and his team as upstanding, someone you can trust, and he is just a genuine guy.
Marcos has been very generous. He has a genuine concern for people. You need somebody that cares about you. And that's what Marcos is, and that's pretty much what this firm is.
The Garza Law Firm. Let us help.
Back at Mount Panorama Circuit, just past halfway, 15 laps in the booth with Andrew Locke out of this one early. First of all, Andrew, thanks for jumping up in the booth and commentating with us here for a little bit.
Yeah, no worries, man. Absolutely. I figured I'd keep you company.
While we were in the break, Dave Tamira having his own incident on track. Let's see if we can get a look at it from the blimp. Again, this was coming up the mountain right where Andrew had his issue, or a little bit after, it seems.
Yeah, it was very similar. Just a hair after. It looks like he hit that inside curb, and that's what shot him to the left there, huh?
Again, luckily no traffic in behind. I think he might have been one that got through when you slid down back into the groove.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was, yeah.
Got lucky there, but not in this instance. And actually, he did significant more damage. He backed into the barrier trying to get turned around. Nick Ciccato mentioned how thin or narrow this place is. You can really see it here. It's like a 14-point turn trying to get straightened back out.
It's definitely the Austin Powers move there. And, yeah, I mean, that wouldn't happen at Laguna Seca. That I'll give you, Steve.
No, you got room.
Yeah.
So let's talk about it here. 11 laps was the pit stop for Terry Crouch, Randall White, Kevin Burrows. Sean Roberts came at lap 8.
Well, I mean, kind of something that we're looking at now, and I don't know if you're seeing this on your end, but Randall's done a pretty good job maintaining pace with Terry even without taking tires. I mean, he's still 8 seconds behind. I mean, that gap hasn't really moved a lot.
And I'll follow this up with what I usually say about Terry Crouch, but first and foremost, last lap for Crouch was an 03.97. That's 2 minutes and 3. And then
Yep.
Randall was an 03.81. So we're talking half a tenth, roughly. Kevin Burrows was an 03.57, so he's 4/10ths quicker than the leader right now, but we need a whole lot more laps to click by before that's going to really make much of a difference. But the question I really put up here is Terry Crouch, again, we've talked about it so many times, he has different speeds. He's got I'm out of cigarettes and my hair's on fire speed. You've got I'm really trying to save tires and fuel speed, and you've got my just cruising speed. And I think he's in cruise speed right now. So scary thing is his cruise speed is faster than a lot of guys' best lap. So it's going to be tough for him to catch here. Randall White might have a good finish, but it's going to be tough to get to Terry.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I mean, he's definitely in the maintaining mode at the moment, and honestly, he's probably kind of taking it a little easier because it's dark too. So, yeah, and you are right. I mean, Terry, when he wants to turn it on, I mean, he really turns it on, and we've seen it in the past where it's funny, and even after races, he'll send you messages. Oh, I didn't mean to dive bomb you there, or that was a crummy pass, and I feel bad because I nudged you, and it's like he doesn't like to take risks, but he can get a little aggressive, but his aggression is perfectly fine in my opinion. That's just hard racing, and honestly, I mean he does it all well.
Speaking of good racing, we've got Kevin Blue and Sean Roberts battling for the 4th spot. Kevin got alongside Sean Roberts in that Porsche coming down the straightaway. They're still side by side down into turn 23. The left-hander back on the main straightaway. Good battle for position. Very impressed. Both of these guys able to run side by side through those final couple of corners without making any contact. They're still side by side down into turn number 1.
Let's see who has the horsepower going up the hill. Looks like Sean may have gotten a little bit of a better run, but
again, dark has definitely fallen here at Bathurst. Hard to tell who's who. Again, the outside in this picture is the Porsche of Sean Roberts. Kevin's getting outbrake him up the hill.
Yeah, we might take it wide though. Yep, look at that. All right.
Still set up for the left-hander though. Sean backs out of it.
Yep. That's a tricky place to pass. This whole section, I mean, you really can't. So we'll see what happens when he gets through the hairpin there down the hill.
On board with Sean Roberts as he now trails the BMW of Kevin Blue. Now they work their way back downhill. How light does the rear of the car get finally coming down the hill through these corners? You got to kind of beat the curves a little bit. How does it feel in the rear end of that car?
So it's interesting, like the way you get through the corkscrew actually is you actually want to brake quite a bit beforehand, and when you're it's weird, it's like the car is floating. You take the wheel and you kind of jack it to the left, and then you get kind of that floating sensation, and you floor it when you feel that. So the idea is to really accelerate through it, and it's very bizarre. Unlike any other corner I've ever raced in this sim here, and yeah, but you can make up a lot of speed there too. You just got to be careful of that outside wall if you go a little too quick through there.
Just like that, another lap complete. Kevin Blue well clear of Sean Roberts into P4. Remember, Kevin started back in 13th. Did not have a good qualifying run, kind of gave up, got in his head a bit, and decided, I'm going to start from the back. He's worked his way up into the top 5.
Yeah, it's nice to see Kevin actually out and enjoying a race for once. He puts in so much time to make sure that everybody in the league has everything they need, and any questions are answered, and sessions are started on time and all that good stuff. It's good to see him out. So he's a good dude too.
It's interesting because I talked to Kevin, I don't know, it was a week or so ago, and he admittedly says, I'm just not having as much fun doing this as I once was, and I might not even race. And I'm like, dude, it's Bathurst. You love this place. You got to come out and run. And I'm glad to see that he's out there and having a solid run so far with about 24 minutes to go.
I didn't know he was such a fan of this track.
Yeah, Bathurst is like his go-to.
I thought Road Atlanta was. He loves that.
He loves the Road Atlanta too. It's I guess they're one and the same. I don't know if this one's better if it's Road Atlanta, but yeah, those two especially. It's like our Watkins Glen.
Yeah, Sean does a lot of different road course racing. I actually was watching one of his streams. It looks like he streams a lot on I can't remember. What was it, YouTube?
I don't know if it's YouTube or Twitch, but yeah, he's definitely a streamer. We've been out there watching him a couple of times.
Yeah, and he was doing some he was doing a TCR race the other night at VIR actually, and it was some variant of the course that I'd actually never even seen before. I watched it for a little while. It was pretty cool.
Going back to our conversations that you and I had during the break about the next road course series, there was all kinds of different talk. It was me and Kevin maybe going to team up and put one on together, and then he thought about doing a multi-class series with basically a true IMSA endurance series with the prototypes, the new LMP3 that's going to come out here in June, along with GT cars, along with the GTP and the LMP2s. And he says, that's going to be a lot of work. I don't know if I want to do that. So it's not off the table, but it's a possibility. Then we talked about, myself at least, doing a late model stock race car, another recent update that iRacing has put out there to run on the road courses. They're a fun car to run. They're not overpowered like you would expect out of the Craftsman Truck Series per se. They handle a whole lot better. They sound amazing. But yeah, you even mentioned it to me, you and James, I think were talking about it. I would liken it to Trans Am, not so much the TA1 cars, maybe TA2, because the TA1 cars are putting about 800 horsepower to the ground, but
yeah, those things are freaking wild,
insane. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Either way, it sounds like there's good things on the road course front going forward.
Well, I mean, you could kind of do a double whammy, so to speak. Although that'd probably be a lot of work. Kevin does such a good job and with these leagues, and you do such a good job on the broadcasting end of things that, over the years since you guys have started this road stuff, and I think which one was the first league? Was
GT1.
It the yeah, that was fun. But it seems like over the last couple of seasons that you guys have gotten a lot more traction, and like even the recruitment race for this league, I mean, there was a lot of people.
I think we had 40 cars in that race.
Oh yeah, it was wild. But you could do something with that late model and maybe make it a little bit, a little shorter. But there's a lot of different people in a lot of different leagues that you see popping up nowadays that are actually like more, they're focused towards like IMSA. You got VSCA, I believe, is one of them. There's another one, I think it's put on by like Goon Squad. Apex does one, and I guarantee you, if you guys put together either a WEC or like an IMSA, an actual endurance league, you'd probably get a lot of people, and a lot of people, in the races at every session, and even something like that, you wouldn't even have to do it every week. It would be, you could kind of try to follow the IMSA schedule a little bit so that you could kind of spread it out a bit. And as far as rules and regulations, you could throw all sorts of weird curveballs in there. You could do yellow flags. You can do all sorts of stuff. And I think we might know a guy too that may or may not know the IMSA regulations pretty well. So
I think he's got access to the book, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. We talked about that.
So speaking of that guy, he made mention when you and I talked about running the old C7 Daytona prototype from a few years back.
Yeah.
Another driver that spent some time either here in the booth or even in the LSR GT3 series, among others, is Zach Millett. And him and I spent some time at the Glen, just kind of messing around one night in that car, running side by side, bumping into each other, lap after lap after lap, just grinning ear to ear, laughing. And I don't know. I mean, I think that could be a good series as well. There was some talk of just a straight-up LMP3 series, so I don't know. There's a lot of possibilities.
Oh, I forgot that car was coming out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Coming to see that one in June.
Oh, is it? Wow, is it that soon? Wow,
I
no
think
kidding.
we'll have it before the official 6 hours of the Glen. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that's wild. Yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of stuff, and honestly, like, um, I'm sure I'm sure you and Kevin will get it worked out, and obviously any help that I can be, I'll be happy to participate in that. But um, yeah, man, I'm excited, and because again, I kind of just started to get into this with you. I mean, you kind of turned me on to the league thing. I was more of an official guy before, and now it seems I'm less official and more about the league. So uh, I'll uh, I'll definitely say you were right, Steve.
I don't
You
hear
only hear that once.
I don't hear it very often from very
Yeah,
many
yeah,
people.
yeah, yeah. Yep, yep.
But yeah, I mean, it really is the case. I mean, you see it, and you've dealt with it just as anybody else has, is that running the officials, you just don't know who you're racing with most of the time. You could have a group that's awesome. You could have a really high I rating group that's super clean, or you could have a really high I rating group that's just super aggressive with a couple of guys that are complete slouches mixed in. You just don't know. You come over here and run the league. Yes, everyone's got their own ability level, but as that season goes on, you kind of understand and learn how to race around particular guys, and it makes for a better race.
Yeah, I agree, and I mean, it kind of you're absolutely right, man. It's wild because I think the thing that's getting me more now about officials is like somebody will do something really silly, right? And you just want to rip your hair out, and I mean there's no recourse, man. There's nothing you can do about it, and then I mean I was in a race like a week ago doing LMP2 at Road America, and a guy hit me in lap one and literally took me out of the race. There goes 100 and something I rating, like right off the bat, and you're just like, and it just really makes you not want to race. And yeah, being around familiar people and knowing their racecraft, their abilities, and things like that, I think that's definitely a perk to doing league stuff. So, and kind of one point I think that we were talking about before on the break, it's like trying to maintain the participation, and iRacing's coming out with a lot of different stuff where you can kind of adjust essentially like power output on cars and things like that. So might be something that you kind of tinker with in the next few seasons, and who knows what else they'll add. You know what I mean? So
It's one thing that I wish that iRacing would address, and it would apply even to the road racing side of things, but you've got fixed setups or you've got open setups. There's no in between. And just to give you the example, at least I come from more of a stock car background, is I might not necessarily want a full-on open setup style race, but I would like the ability to at least go, all right, let's put some tape on the nose. Let's play with some tire pressures. Let's play with this suspension adjustment that can be done on a pit stop and nothing more. Just those basic things, and you can probably incorporate that into road cars as well, even if it's just tire pressure or a weight jacker kind of thing, or anti-roll bar adjustments from IndyCar. I know IndyCar allows that. I guess kind of like an open setup light, I guess you would say.
yeah, that's a good point. I mean, but you can do a lot in one of these cars with brake bias and traction control. So going back to the conversations Terry and I were having over the week, he says that every lap on this track he adjusts the brake bias three different times and three different settings.
So he's adjusting it per like corner by corner basis.
Oh yeah, yeah. And he, when you get that skilled and you really understand the way that the brake bias works. I mean, going into this corner here, I'm sure he's into the chase there, I'm sure he's jacked up the brake bias all the way to the front. You know what I mean? Well, depending on the fuel load too, but and you can see how more efficiently he gets through that corner. And I think I'm assuming iRacing probably doesn't do something like that because a lot of people don't really understand the fundamentals of how to set up cars. You know what I mean? So
You'd kind of wonder, though, if that would kind of be a way to get someone who doesn't necessarily understand it, a way to kind of get their foot in that open setup door. I know you can go out and you can buy setups, but knowing how to make changes to the setup that you're given, even if it's a good, a VRS or an Apex style setup, knowing what to play with to your own particular driving style, especially in a pit stop style adjustment situation where you can make changes, I think that'd be a good place to start. But I guess we'll see if it happens.
Yeah, and you know what, dude? I completely agree with that. And guys like you and me and Terry and a lot of other guys in this league, to be honest with you, would probably love that. But then you've got the other people. You made the point of saying that there's a lot of you can go out and buy a lot of setups, and you know, I've got a subscription to VRS, and you know, I'll admit it, I don't make my own setups or anything like that, but there's so many different titles and so many different spins, to be frank, that just kind of uh, form themselves around you know, and so many people that play games in general, the kind of the pay to play aspect of it, and you know, maybe that has something to do with it. I mean, who knows? But you would think people that are, you know, hardcore into to sim racing, you know, I mean, they're going to have a basic understanding on how to set up a car. But I'll be honest with you, you're better at it than I am. I will goof around with some setup stuff, but I seem to goof it up more often than I make it better. So,
Well, in most cases on a road car, I don't really know A to B or anything with that. I mean, if anything, I'm changing. If I got a basic setup, I might raise a ride height here or there or play with some gear ratios, but that's really about where it ends. The stock car side of thing, it's not a whole lot better. There's a couple more adjustments that I'll know how to make, but it's about where it ends. I'm either a fixed setup or a buy setup kind of guy. That's really about it. But I would like to be able to make some small changes if they were made available.
yeah, you know, and I'm surprised that iRacing doesn't let you do that. So essentially, the only thing that it lets you do is adjust the fuel level, huh?
Fuel in a fixed setup, I don't even think you can. I think the setup that is loaded with it in relativity to the max fuel load, you can start with what you can start with. At least on the stock car side, you can't play with fuel at all, even for qualifying. You're going to start on full fuel load.
Oh yeah, you know what? So it's probably the way that he has the league session set up then, right? The fuel level in the cars, so
Yeah,
you can't actually do it to the fixed side. Yeah, you're right.
He's got that down.
That's wild. You know, I never even thought about it that way. I always assumed it was just you know, I assumed the point that you were just making, that he adjusted the fixed setup and that's what everybody had to run. But yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, I mean, I did a little bit of that with GT1 as far as, you know, a lot of the tracks that we ran in that first series didn't have a setup per se. So you could either start with the baseline and make changes to kind of accommodate the track, which in many cases it just kind of made the thing very understeery, but it was a relatively new league. It was newer drivers that don't have a whole lot of road experience. So it kind of worked out. You don't want the thing to over-rotate when you're just trying to get used to a car. But yeah, I mean, this series right now, they're running the baseline setup. That's all they got.
I did not know that.
It's the baseline setup with a reduced fuel percentage.
Interesting. And how many weeks in are we?
So this is round 10.
Oh, I just found that out in round 10. That's hilarious.
Well, you got to pay attention to the Discord. So.
Oh, you know how I am about that. Come on.
I know. But with that, they made that change just because the league as a whole was having some concerns and some complaints about the handling of the car itself. So they made a switch. When they made that switch, they also allowed everybody the opportunity to change the car that they wanted to run, because the new setup may or may not accommodate their driving style based on what car they were in. So the guys made some changes. But with that setup change, it's also when they went to the reduced fuel capacity, which was going to require the 2 pit stops.
Yep.
Speaking of that, we have finished our second round of stops. Terry Crouch, a 12-second stop, so that was fuel only. Randall White on the Andrew Locke strategy, still no tires on his second stop. Kevin Burrows, same thing, no tires. Looks like everybody all the way down into the 9th spot. Alfredo Tricarici, no tires except for the 57 machine of Alfredo in 9th. Gaston, ironically, back up into P8 after starting from the rear and being involved in a first lap crash. Didn't give up, still trying to get those points.
Yeah, you know, and I mean, he's got about 20 seconds to Sean, which, you know, obviously 10 minutes left. I don't think he's going to 9 minutes now, but you know, it looks like the closest battle on the track is probably in between, looks like Kevin and Dave, huh? About 6 seconds.
Kevin Blue, Dave Seats. Yeah, that's kind of the battle from before. Seats running in 5th. It's not a tight battle. Everyone's pretty well strung out here after the pit stops. Again, about 8 minutes remain. Got a comment from Nick Ciccato in the stream chat. It says, what we're really missing year 2023 is a different tire compound for road racing. And I'm ashamed to even ask this. I mean, at least in IMSA GT3 competition and the like, are there different compounds, or is there just an issued tire for them to run throughout the weekend? I know Formula One, of course, has different compounds, but is there three sets, the three different compounds of tires, soft, medium, or hard for IMSA?
When I was at Daytona, working on James's crew there, no, we had rain tires, or we had just one set of particular Michelin tires. There was no. I think with the LMDH cars when they were there, or the GTP, IMSA calls them, they did have a choice, but that was the only class that actually had the choice.
Interesting.
From what I saw on my end, we only had the one set of Michelins, and they were obviously slicks, and then we had our rain tires.
Interestingly, Steger in the stream chat says, for IMSA, yes, only for GTP. So it answers the same question you just did.
Yeah, it was only GTP.
It really would add an extra dynamic to the road races as far as strategy was concerned, until everybody kind of figures it out. The other thing with that is, if you were going to go with tire compound options throughout the course of a race that you could make changes prior to the pit stop, you can't really set the session up with any particular type of weather, because if you know what it's going to be, you can plan your strategies accordingly. You kind of got to go random 100% and let the chips fall where they may. Make your decisions throughout the race. Yeah,
you're right. I mean, with rain coming in, we'll see how that plays into.
Literally took the words out of my mouth.
Yeah, we'll see how that plays into everybody. So it'll be interesting to see how challenging that'll be, because I mean, this is going back to the conversation we were having earlier regarding official sessions, and I'm interested to see how that plays out. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, rain is going to be, I don't know. I think it's cool to add. It's not my favorite thing to do. I don't know how well the old video game versions of it translate to anything, but I was okay at it, trying to run offline to find grip and things like that. But it's just, I don't know. I want to go fast, and rain slows you down.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the only current sim that I've actually run on that has rain is R Factor 2, and I mean, they're known for their tire dynamics and things like that, and I'm no good at it, I'll be honest with you. But again, R Factor 2 is also a completely different beast than iRacing. So if you're used to driving a sim like iRacing and you kind of transition into R Factor, it's challenging to begin with. And but yeah, I am not good at it. Let's put it that way.
We'll have to see when it comes. If it comes, who knows when that'll be. Maybe it'll be June when we get this new LMP3 car. Time will tell. But just about 5 minutes shy before we close things out here from Bathurst. Again, Terry Crouch out in front, still 9.5 seconds over teammate Randall White. It's a TLDR top 3 right now, and it looks like that will continue, provided everybody can keep it between the white lines.
No, I know I've asked this question like 35,000 times. Did Randall take tires or not?
So the last stop he did not. Again, he's on your strategy. He didn't take him on the first one. He didn't take him on this one.
I gotcha.
So he's going all the way to the finish.
And look at that. And then Kevin, who took tires on stint 1, he's behind Randall by 8 seconds there, or 9 seconds. So interesting.
You look at that too, is the track temperature currently only 65 degrees Fahrenheit, so nice and cool. Not necessarily a bad plan. I think Terry's option to take tires was more based out of luxury than it was out of necessity.
Yeah, and probably a little bit of caution, because I'm sure he knew it was going to be going into night, and the last thing that he wanted is losing it on top of the hill or something like that. So I love it. Every time, if you watch a lap when he's at the top of the hill there, top of the mountain, he always brushes that outside wall every single solitary time.
I've been seeing a little bit of sparks fly every time he goes through there, and I know these cars are relatively durable, but how often can you really do that before you have problems?
It's going to be really hard to look at the side of his machine right now, but I can guarantee you if there's any damage, it's very little.
Certainly
and I I highly doubt there is any damage. I mean, as long as you don't scrape it, I probably should have pointed this out before I even made the point, but what's more impressive to me is that he can do that every time consistently and not damage the car.
Exactly.
I guess that's what I'm really impressed about. So
3 minutes, 15 seconds left. Terry Crouch back on the main straightaway here, starting lap 28. Back up the hill. Not really any battles on track to speak of. Really the closest right now is Dave Seitz and Drew Blaze, but still a few seconds between those two. And then another 5 back to Sean Roberts, 13 back to Gaston Masroni. Minute plus back to Troy Carici, minute plus to Tamira, and that's your lead lap cars, the top 10.
Yeah, that looks like the closest between those three, and yeah, it's amazing how spread out it actually got with these pit stops. I've seen a lot of different numbers all over the board. I don't know what your timing and scoring is showing, but you know, I've got guys anywhere like Sean Roberts. His total stop with pit lane was 40 seconds, and then you got guys like Terry that's showing he was at 34.6. So it's kind of all over the board.
Yeah, so mine's showing, it's interesting because Roberts is showing a pit lane time of 52 with a stop of 17:55.
Yeah, that is interesting because I'm showing, so the stop time's the same, but the lane time's different. So I'm showing a 17.6 and a 40.1 total. So interesting.
Now, I would assume both softwares are pulling the information direct from iRacing, so something's getting mixed up in the translation there, but is what it is.
Maybe we'll have to play rocks, paper, scissors, shoot and see who's more accurate then, huh? We'll just guess.
Or we can just stop watching ourselves next time.
Yeah, seriously.
So Nick Ciccato says, do we know which GT3 car is getting dropped to leave space for the LMP3? But Steger jumps in and says, the rumor is the car count may be going to 10, which would be ideal. I don't see why they couldn't do that. If they can add rain, they can add 2 more slots for cars.
From my understanding, from what I was reading, was they were concerned about it on the client end of it because I guess for every car that they add, it adds some absurd amount of, additional memory or something like that. I don't know. That's what I read. But, I mean, systems nowadays,
every 6 months they got to be improved. I mean, it's just how it goes.
Yeah. I mean, you just went through it. I just went through it. We use the same PC guy.
Right.
I don't know. And the only reason why I did is because it's like they keep on enhancing the scans and the tracks, and I'm running Daytona at night, and I'm a system with a 10900K and a 3080 Ti in traffic on the infield. I'm getting 70 frames, and it just irritated me, so I upgraded. That was my reason. What was yours, Steve?
More power.
Yeah, more power.
No, I mean, I wanted to be at least above 60 in my cases, but I'm running replays at just about max quality all the time, regardless. I did find an interesting tidbit that at least replay-wise, if you turn your cockpit mirrors off, I gained like a 50% increase in frame rate on that alone, which, okay, kind of stinks for being on the in-car cameras, but realistically, I'm not on them that often, and even when you're not, it still affects the frame rate, so... I've been running pretty solid here, wide open throttle for quite a while. But Terry Crouch down the backstretch here in the final couple of corners. I believe he is on the last lap as we have eclipsed a full hour here at Mount Panorama Circuit. Terry Crouch started outside front row, wasn't able to take the pole position, but he's going to take the top trophy here in the race. A couple more corners to go. Tough part is it being dark. I'm not going to be able to see the flag. Let's see if we can see it on the in-car. Yep.
Oh, he's got the lights flashing. Perfect. Awesome. Good show, man.
Terry Crouch, your race winner. Randall White just now crossing the stripe here in the second position. Kevin Burrows about to cross start finish. TLDR top 3 sweeps the podium. Kevin Blue from the back of the pack up into P4. Dave Seats is going to finish in 5th.
Look at good old Kevin Blue in the 4th position. What a guy.
Nick
Good run, man. That's awesome.
Nick Cacano in his stream chat says, my driver of the day vote goes to Kevin Blue.
I would 100% agree with that.
Well, we're going to jump out here. No burnouts NASCAR style here. We're going to get a break out of the way. We'll be back after this.
I met Marco Sgarza when we were doing radiothons for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. We needed sponsors to help us raise money, and he's always the first one to jump in. I would describe Marcos and his team as upstanding, someone you can trust, and he is just a genuine guy.
Marcos has been very generous. He has a genuine concern for people. You need somebody that cares about you. And that's what Marcos is, and that's pretty much what this firm is.
The Garza Law Firm. Let us help.
Back at Mount Panorama Circuit, Terry Crouch, Randall White, Kevin Burrows, a TLDR Sim Sport podium sweep. Pull Terry Crouch up into the broadcast booth. He's our race winner. Get a word with the driver, the number 59. Terry, it's Steve in the booth. You got us?
I do. I'm exhausted. How you doing?
I bet you are. That's a tough one, especially as the sun starts to set and it gets dark over Mount Panorama. Certainly a tough place to get around. Couldn't take the top spot in qualifying. We watched you try dearly. It was about 0.005 of a second short, I believe, but no need. Gaston had to go to the back, so it's kind of like having that top starting position, but you ran away right away. Never looked back, man. A dominating performance. Put on a clinic here at Bathurst, man. Tell us about your race.
Well, like I said, it's an exhausting type of event. About halfway through, I realized I should have done some practice laps in the dark. My graphics changed so weird, it made it tough to see some of the apexes. It was it was really, I'm just happy to get out of there with, the car intact. The result is just a bonus.
Certainly not expecting it to get as dark as it did. We did kind of expect things to go a little late, at least in talking to Kevin Blue about the plans for tonight, but you guys powered through it. I think we really only had one issue on track as nightfall rolled in. Dave Tamira having an issue on the mountain, but luckily a one-car incident for his sake and everybody else's. But now that this one's over, I know you had a lot of thoughts going into strategies. There were some different strategies throughout your team as you guys did sweep the podium. Was it a conversation between the three of you, or every man for themselves at the end?
Oh yeah, no, it was a conversation between the three of us, and Dave Seats was in there with us too to kind of talk strategy and go through the race. So it was cool having him in there. But Randall was just more comfortable without changing, and we announced what we were doing, and he's like, I'm not changing. He trusted the tires, and it actually worked for him because he was catching me quick when I was on new rubber again. But I just had to trust that I didn't want to overdrive it and screw it up. But he certainly made it more difficult than I expected, so it was a heck of a job from him.
Certainly very impressive run for all three of you guys. Again, congratulations on the win here tonight. Next week, we had Andrew Locke in the booth here tonight after his early exit, and we talked about the differences, or more like similarities, ironically, between this track and Laguna Seca next week. I think really the differences is the walls aren't on top of the white painted lines at Laguna Seca as they are here. But what are your thoughts going out into Monterey next week?
I think Laguna Seca is, it's similar that it's really high commitment. And if you put a tire off there, you're in the dirt and then in a wall. So, I mean, it's really the same result. But I think you can pass at a lot more places in Laguna Seca, set up your runs. Here, if you get up behind somebody coming up the mountain or coming down, you're just kind of stuck unless they want to let you go by. So, I really didn't want the EOL here. I don't mind it at Laguna Seca, and we'll just try and string a few more together at the end of the season and max this thing out.
Just a few left here as you retain your points lead. It was 90 coming in with Gaston finishing in P8. That's likely to grow a little bit more as we roll into next week. So again, congratulations, Terry. Job well done as always. Who do you want to shout out to before we let you go?
I know my wife's watching this one, and I know my daughter's upstairs watching it because she usually texts me a congratulations or a sorry right afterwards. So to them, and of course, my boys right behind me at TLDR, Randall and Kevin, they did such a great race. And sponsors of GSI and the Sim Pit, and always you, because I don't know how many views you get on these things, but I'm guessing half of them are me. So thank you.
Certainly do appreciate the views, Terry. Again, congratulations. Good luck next week in Laguna Seca.
Thank you, brother.
It's Terry Crouch, your race winner. Next, we're going to go to Randall White, another TLDR Sim Sport driver. His first runner-up finish of the year, I believe. Randall, it's Steve in the booth. You got us?
Hey, Steve. Gotcha.
Congratulations, a runner-up finish on a little bit of tire strategy here at Bathurst. Not necessarily the place I would have expected to see it, but the race starting so late in the day, cooler track temperatures, it worked out for you. You were able to leapfrog Kevin Burrows and bring the number 27 machine home into the second spot, man. Tell us about your race.
Yeah, I mean, the first stint, I was behind them. I was saving some fuel, which also, helped save the tires. So I didn't really feel like I needed to change tires. I wasn't sure if Kevin was going to change or not, but just saving some fuel, I thought maybe I could have a shorter stop and get past them. But either way, I was happy where I was. Best finish of the year in this league for me, so it was all going pretty well. I mean, Andrew spun, I think on lap 2, and I barely made it through there. That was probably the key moment for me.
Yeah, we saw a couple of drivers. It was, I think, David Tamira and yourself getting through there just by the skin of your teeth without contact. Andrew ended up joining us up here in the booth, so he didn't get out of working for the night, but either way. Congratulations to you, though, man. A good finish, a strong run. It's always good when you can find a way to pass a teammate, even better when all three of you guys can finish on the podium. What a night.
Yeah, it was a good finish for the team there. It's cool.
Next week is Laguna Seca, and I was talking to Terry about the similarities between the tracks. You wouldn't think that anything is like Bathurst, but if you kind of compare it, just look at the corkscrew and then look at it coming down the mountain here at Bathurst. They are somewhat similar. Can we possibly see another top 3 with all 3 of you guys out there next week?
I never made that comparison, but now that you say that, yeah, they are kind of similar in some ways. Hopefully we get another 1, 2, 3, but we'll see. I mean, Andrew's good, and there's a lot of fast guys in this league. I know a lot of guys couldn't make it this week, but it'll all depend who shows up next week, I think.
Remains to be seen, but Randall, again, congratulations on a runner-up finish here tonight. Who do you want to shout out to before we let you go?
Shout out to Terry and Kevin. Terry, he's the one that brought me into this league. It's a great league, having a good time. Also, my dad always watches your broadcast. He gets a kick out of it. So I appreciate that. You guys do a great job.
All right, Randall, again, appreciate the kind words. Good luck next week.
Thanks a lot, guys.
It's Randall White, your runner-up here at Bathurst. And last but not least, it's Kevin Burrows, driver of the 426 BMW. Also, again, as we said, with TLDR Sim Sport. Kevin, it's Steve in the HBR TV booth. Are you with us?
Yes, how are you?
Doing well, sir. Again, get to talk to you once again here. Top 3 finish at Bathurst. The teammate jumped you on some tire strategy there at the end of this race, more really at the beginning of that first pit stop. But was there anything you could have done differently to track down Randall and make a move for that P2, or did he just get you on the tires?
No, he absolutely had me. It turned dark, and the whole world changed, and there was no way I could catch him. He was way too quick for me.
We heard kind of the same thing from Terry about some changes in sight lines and catching the apexes as the darkness rolled into Bathurst. Was that kind of the same issue you had to deal with when it got dark here at the track?
Yeah, it started getting darker, and I could tell my lap times were dropping off quite a bit, and I got down to where I was roughly a second, and then at the end about a second and a half slower. But yeah, it was definitely, I was not prepared for it, that's for sure.
Tough situations here again. These racetracks without any real ambient light to contribute to your sight can be very challenging, especially if you haven't put some time into it. Again, Terry mentioned the same thing, that he's like, man, I wish I had practiced some night racing here. Didn't get that done, and it affected him. It cost him a little bit of lap time, unfortunately, for second and third place. It didn't cost him too much, but either way, you still brought it home in the third place. It's a solid finish. It's something to be proud of. Next week, we're out at Laguna Seca. I don't anticipate a whole lot of darkness there. What are your thoughts going out into California next week?
I like Laguna. It's a good track. It's a bit shorter track, but it should be a good time. It should really be a good time.
Well, Kevin, again, congratulations on P3, man. Who do you want to shout out to before we let you go?
My wife, my daughter, and my team, TLDR, and you, Steve, man. You did a great job. Love watching the broadcast.
Appreciate the kind words, Kevin. Good luck next week.
Yep, thank you.
It's Kevin Burrows, your third place finisher here at Bathurst. That's going to wrap it up for us here at Mount Panorama Circuit. Let's take a look at our race results. We talked to our top 3 already. Fourth place finisher, solid run out of the 54, Kevin Blue. Fifth place was Dave Seats. Drew Blaze, solid run out of the 1. Stayed here to the end, finishes this thing in the 6th spot. Sean Roberts was P7. Gaston Masroni, after the end of line win penalty to start the race, and then, well, things go from bad to worse. Gets involved in a first lap crash, has to go to the pits, burn the faster pair, still finishes P8. Dave Tamira finished 9th. Alfredo Tricarici was 10th. Chris Pio 11th. Brandon Domain was 12th. Nick Batista 13th. We talked to Andrew Locke out early here. I think it was lap 2. Finishes 14th. And Daniel Clark, P15. Short field here tonight. Hopefully we'll see some more of these guys here next week at Laguna Seca. Looking forward to that one. A fun place to call the races. Even more fun to turn laps. More fun at the most sitting home watching the race. So thank you guys for tuning in tonight. Hopefully you tune in next week for it. If you haven't already done so, check us out at hbrtv1.com. We've got not a whole lot going on there other than just the logo and a couple of hot links for social media. We will at some point have the ability to watch the live streams there right at hbrtv1.com instead of having to navigate necessarily to the social media platforms. Kind of consolidates everything all into one fine little place. But that is in the future. Time will tell. We'll keep everybody posted. But again, thank you guys for jumping in here in the stream chat, watching this thing. We've got more racing the rest of the week. We're just kicking this thing off this week. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we will be live between the 8 and 9 p.m. hours. Just check us out. They're already scheduled here. Find us on the YouTube page, and you can find out when to tune in. The best way to do it, though, turn on the notifications, like, follow, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. It helps us, it helps the leagues, and it helps you stay in the know. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good night.